let's talk about draft strategy. In particular, how to save a draft, how to fix a draft. And I'm going to aim this conversation at our bronze and silver players, though it's an essential strategy for all leagues. Take a look at this team comp. What's wrong with it? It has a huge burden to win every fight. It's probably pretty decent at fighting. But this team must win every team fight they get into, every objective they attend, because they lack lane clear. And lane clear soaking in the early game is how you get XP and an XP lead. Cleared lanes also gives you better access to the objectives, more camps you're available to take. Lanes and camps destroy buildings, buildings are in the way of the core, and through soaking and lane clear, you build an avenue to victory. That rundown should not be a shock. You've probably heard it many times. And it's not fair for us to reduce down bronze and silver strategy to just soaking when they're dealing with something that the other leagues aren't. Wrongful tilt, misinformation, paranoia, superstition. So what I want to give you is several heroes you could insert into this team comp to fix the draft, to make the gameplay easier, to reduce the burden of execution. And with these heroes that can team fight well, can clear a lane quickly, and manage a camp, and also aren't on the trolley side of hero picks, you can hit the ground running. Give your team that XP lead, so when they are constantly team fighting, they're doing it from ahead, with more power, bigger numbers, better health bars than the enemy team. But we are talking about climbing a ranked ladder, so there's two big statements we need to make. First, you're aiming for a 66% win rate. 1 in 3 games are going to have levers, trolls, issues that are beyond your control. The second statement is one I want you to eject from your brain. If everyone was better, I wouldn't have to work so hard. You are trying to climb, you are trying to improve. You do have to work harder than everybody else. And in order to fix a draft, you have to cover more jobs than your allies. And because you're covering more jobs, you need to complete them with greater efficiency. So when we look at our team comp here, we're not only seeing a burden of execution in the fights with so many important skill shots, like Ana heals, Imperious Spears, Hungering Arrows, but the big problem is the inefficiency which it performs the macro, the map management. So let's make a simple change here and introduce you to my good friend, Jaina. Jaina can do it all, with great efficiency. Clearing a lane with a single blizzard means you have more time to do other things. As your talent build develops, you can quickly take camps. Those camps can push during team fights, which you are also good at. You have a choice of heroics, which are both easy to use, and you have good building destruction damage when you're able to lock onto a building. Now, of course, you need to be able to hit skill shots. You need a good build. You need to develop an eye for allied CC, so you can cast efficient blizzards. You also need to just make sure that you don't put your blizzards on top of terrain, where they can't hit anything. But with the team fight, lane clear, siege damage, campability, we are checking off so many boxes that you alone are elevating the performance of your team. But in the low leagues, you likely play this game for fun, so it's not fair of me to say, you can only play Jaina. There are many other heroes in the ranged assassin category that can fill this role. Many of them have their own burdens, such as low mobility, gankability. Some of them, like Phoenix, have very difficult kits. Some of them, like Greymane, have very difficult choice structures as to whether you're going to be ranged or go in on melee. And a few of these, despite your passion, lead to a tilted team. This is particularly true when we look at our melee assassins like Murky and Illidan, even Zeratul or Samuro, Kerrigan. In the hands of a smurf, of a skilled player, these characters can get a lot done and cover the exact bases I've been talking about. But skilled players hit the ground running and get that advantage from level 1 to a level 2 before the enemy, a talent lead, a heroic lead, and an eventual victory. And here I am talking about bronze and silver and acting like you have access to the assassin category. Assassins get slam-picked in the low leagues because everybody wants to carry. Now, there is a possibility that you're being too nice. You feel you don't deserve bronze? You should first pick your assassin before your allies do. But let's say you like the team play aspect, it feels like too much to force people off their picks. Let's try to fix the other roles here. Let's change Ana, the healer. Somebody who's going to be last picking in the first place in Bronze and Silver. The danger with supporting in low leagues is that when you go to aid somebody in their lane, they'll often say, "Hey thanks, you've got the lane, I'm off." Now you're stuck lane clearing. So we still have to have that lane clear. But a little bit of Merkin certainly would help. Rhaegar is your man. Rhaegar has it all. Lane clear with Lightning Shield, Campability, good team fights. Some might say his healing numbers are too low, we want Morales. No. If you have levels on your enemy team, your healing numbers are bigger than theirs. Rhaegar's gonna do you just fine. But it is a unique fantasy being a dog man. So here are some other heroes that might be able to pull it off with a little extra work. Stukov's got big ol' auto attacks that can help clear a lane and take a siege giant camp. Ariel, while she lost some power, can still get a decent amount of hope and help clear a lane. Alex Straz's E is very efficient at clearing lanes as long as you're hitting the same target. And a special shout out to Brightwing, who might not clear fast, but if you have a good global eye, if you're good at using your minimap, you can make lots of efficient soaking out of Brightwing. Plus you may take advantage of Bribe. When we look at fixing the bruiser role, we have a lot of options. People are used to bruisers solo laning for extended periods of time, going off to camps, but they also have other important jobs like functioning as an off-tank or disrupting enemy team fights. With soaking, camping in mind, and reducing that burden of execution, an easy hero to play, I recommend Malthael. Rebind your Q if you have to, and be ready to hold that thing down. Malthael has an amazing cleaving auto attack that'll allow you to clear lanes with great efficiency. Unless you are dueling in lane, team fighting, or looking to reposition, there is no reason to cast Death Shroud. So we have here not only an efficient clearer, but a very mana-efficient hero at those jobs. But in the solo lane, you're going to spend a lot of time staring at yourself, so let's find something else that might fit your fantasy. We have a lot of options in the bruiser role, but because of the importance of your soak, because of the importance of you not dying in the solo lane, you need to put in the work to get good at these individual heroes. Now in the low leagues, your Rel is a ticket on the tilt train. I would also advise you to avoid Ragnaros. His major soak efficiency comes at level 10. While that might be a great catch-up mechanic, you are now battling that tilt from the entire early game to turn it into a victory. But let's round on the hardest role, the one often left for last. The role where you can be called godlike in one game and complete trash in another. In terms of game knowledge, tanks have the greatest burden in the entire game. They are responsible for many jobs, including engage, peel, ward and anchor, zoning, absorbing incoming damage. And in a bad draft, they're often stuck, lane clearing. But in a solid draft, we want to focus on those primary 5 jobs I mentioned earlier. And ETC and Mei, who is basically hard ETC, is at the top of the list. But if we do have a team like this, and we do need to cover lanes, look no further than Johanna. Johanna has a very special feature. It used to be a talent with Knight Takes Pawn, was baked in eventually. Johanna's Condemn deals bonus damage to minions and mercenaries. Now we're trading out some engage here. A Condemn, a Blessed Shield, isn't exactly the clearest pick for your allies to target, but we're not so concerned about Focus Fire in Bronze and Silver. There is another hero with this feature, though he's certainly a ride to Tiltburg, Stitches. Stitches Slam also has increased efficiency when it comes to minions and mercenaries. When it comes to tank, it's way better to assume that your primary jobs will be your job and deal with lane clear if it becomes an issue. Blaze's level 4 Incinerator Gauntlets can give you a lot of clear should you find yourself falling behind. ETC's level 7 Echo Pedal can turn his self-heal into a lane clear machine. Mal'Gannis's level 16 Plague Bats is way too late in the game to call efficient lane clear, but it's also just a great talent in the first place. There's been a lot of bad press for Johanna recently. Her Iron Skin cooldown increase messed with a lot of tank players in the high leagues. But in the low leagues, grabbing a big ol' handful of players, disrupting them, causing chaos, is a great job for the tank to do. So here we have our much easier team to pull off. You may have noticed we didn't mess with Vala. She could be replaced with many of the other ranged assassins that I showed in the previous list. The low league's tilt sensors are also very tuned to the variance between burst and sustain. But that's a conversation for a different video. What are your favorite Escape from Bronze heroes? Do you have a specialty that carried you out of Silver? List it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe here at Heroes Hearth, give it a like, ring that bell. Also follow Heroes Hearth over on Instagram. And stay tuned for more Learn to Play content for Heroes of the Storm.